What's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. Today we're going to be looking at how to tackle remixing different BPM songs. In this case, we have much slower songs, and I'm used to working in around 128 BPM, sometimes faster, 130, 131. And so here we're going to be looking at three different methods. In the first method, we have a project open of 50 Cent Window Shopper, and it's a kind of big room EDM bootleg. And the original song is very slow. It's around 87, 88 BPM. And so when we speed it up to something like 129, the singing is going to be very rapid. You know, you might not want that because it'll totally manipulate the characteristic of the vocal. And the singing might be too fast. The audience, the crowd might not be able to pick up on what's being said. Strangely though, it worked for this project. I ended up doing that. So in example number 1, we're just doing the standard approach of stretching the BPM to the project tempo. So I'm going to play you back an example just so you can get an idea of what we did.
When we got the top down, you can hear the system flow. Nigga, when we rollin', drop your block down.
So you can see there it's really sped up. The original is very mellow and slow. And so that is the kind of default approach. And how did we do that? When I had the original vocal, I ended up going to this and hitting fit to tempo and typing in, dialing in the values of the BPM. All right, so in the next example, it's a bootleg of Coldplay the Scientist. And in the beginning, the original song is around 73 to 74 BPM. And so I dialed in a value that I was comfortable with. As a side note, if you find that the value you type in ends up misaligning on the grid or it goes offbeat later in your project, you should probably have a listen to the waveform in the middle of the track, at the end of your project, in the beginning, and align it accordingly. Pay attention to the transients when the drums kick and whatnot. But sometimes, even if you look at a value online, like online they said that this track is 74 BPM, but when I was working on the track, 73 and a quarter ended up being better. So I rolled with that. Now, in this second example, we're going to be looking at what I did here. And so we went from 73 to 128. And what I ended up doing was I played back the track, but I created a big reverb tail. And after that reverb tail, I ended up slowly speeding up the track. We can see here we have a curve of 21%. And so slowly, it was going up to 128. Now, don't mind these. But the importance is that the project is speeding up such that it's preparing for a riser and then finally the fill in the drop. And how do we do that? This can be done just by right-clicking on your tempo and you just go to create automation clip. And when you do that, if you have a specific value that you want to dial in, you can copy that value and you can paste it like how we did there. So we can paste the value. So let's go ahead and play you back an example so you can get an idea.
Oh, take me back to the start.
So when you speed up the tempo, your MIDI, your synths are generally unaffected. But one thing you want to pay a lot of attention to are your audio clips, whether they're stretching in real time or if you don't want them to stretch in real time. Because there's going to be cases, especially in example 3, where you don't want it to actually change at all. You just want it to be static. So the way you change that is you're going to have to do some trial and error and experiment with these, because there are real-time stretching and then there are other versions as well, and you're going to want to experiment and see what happens and see what plays back. Even though you see that the clips are being manipulated, it doesn't necessarily mean that's what you hear. Remember that age-old saying that I saw a guy on Waves Audio say, there's a reason why they call it engineer ear, not engine eye. So even though you're seeing something, focus on what you're hearing. So this is the second example. stretching the tempo and creating something dynamic. And this way it flows better. The audience can expect something, it creates tension. And when it finally gets to that desired tempo, you kind of set the stone, you set the platform for building your drop. So let's go ahead and look at example number 3. So in the final example, we have the bootleg of 50 Cent Candy Shop, notorious track, old school track, one of my favorites. And in this song, again, 128 BPM is our project. And the original track, I believe, is 98 BPM. Now, with that being said, I didn't actually speed up the original song. The original song is left unaltered. There are effects on it, but the speed does not get manipulated. Rather, we kind of have a little downfall and drop right into the track. It's a bit hard to explain. We'll play it back, but rather it kind of lands on the beat. I noticed that the song had this little fade in, and that fade in was perfect because then it could just land right on this transient. And so rather than stretching the track is on stretch. It's not being affected. It transfers from 128 to the slower BPM very smooth. Now, I could have done a better job speeding it up because it plays 98 and then all of a sudden, smack, it goes to 128. But I'm going to show you this part and the part that connects the bridge. It's really cool because it's slowing down, and then lands right on the beat. In this case, I went with just a linear curve. And when the track plays out, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to YOLO. I'm just going to go with whatever and just do a delay to fade out the vocal and just smack go right back to 128. That's what you see there.
I take you to the
So this is a bit of an unorthodox, uncommon way of doing it because rather than stretching the vocal to the project tempo or stretching it in real time, we have the project tempo. The project is slowing down, but we just land on an unaltered original track and we wait until it plays out such that we can land back onto another transient. So you can get creative because sometimes you can manipulate it such that you land back on the transient. And when that happens, you can get some really cool results. So you're going to have to pay a lot of attention visually to see, am I going to land back on the transient? Because it could be the case where it's playing and let's say the track was like 110 BPM and then all of a sudden, boom, the next bar begins. Well, that bar can be your bridge. That bar can be your segment or your riser. It's a bit unnatural, but it's okay. I enjoyed it, and if you like it, that's what matters, If it sounds good, then it's good. So this is a really uncommon way of doing it, but I was happy with the overall results in the end. So I hope you guys like this. The first tip being stretching your audio sample to your tempo. The second one being that we built a slow progression up to our project tempo. And this one being that we actually slowed down but went to an unaltered original vocal and waiting for the next final transient to go back to our project tempo. So ultimately, these are some cool tricks. There's always little cool tricks that you can do to get one BPM to match to another. And so there's really no right or wrong answer when it comes to that. So I hope you guys like this, that you guys can incorporate these tips in your next bootleg, your next remix. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to smash the like button, drop a comment, let me know what you guys want to see in the future, and stay subscribed. I will see you guys very soon. Take care.